For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings.
They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Alver, and today I'm joined by relentless Bill Robinson from Newsmax. How you doing this morning, Bill?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. And 3 words for you: MAGA, America first.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot of news to cover this morning. A part of it's going to be just how good the U.S. economy has been doing since Trump assumed office. But we're going to go ahead and jump into our first story. Obviously, a lot still going on with Iran. We still got more to discuss with the No Kings protests and where some of their funding came from. And we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. Khomeini rejects Trump's call for surrender, warns against U.S. intervention. Well, I mean, this is basically par for the course, but it's also like signing a suicide pact. I mean, at this point, the guy's cornered in a bunker. Russia said they're not going to give them any quarter. So I don't know if this guy thinks he's going to somehow to escape to North Korea. But it's been very clear that their military response to this, like, I've been actually really impressed. We were always told that one of the reasons that Israel and the U.S. didn't just go in and bomb Iran was because of their air defense system. That was apparently a giant lie, a giant paper tiger. They've been extremely ineffective retaliating back against Israel, and that's not to say they haven't killed many people in Israel, getting some missiles and other weapons through. But largely, I am genuinely surprised they haven't had a more brutal response, and they're completely losing control of the country right now.
Yeah, so this guy, Khomeini, the grand, high, exalted, mystic leader of Iran, he must have a death wish.
Oh, yeah.
I like the hiding in the bunker imagery that you just generated. He's like Hitler in April of '45 in the bunker. I just hope they have some cyanide pills and some 45s ready to discharge into his skull. This guy's been hated throughout his country for the longest time. Yes. And I just hope that Trump can coordinate through an uprising by the people simultaneous to the bombing, because that would be unsurvivable for the mullah, towelhead, Bedouin, wandering goat herder people who are running that country. It's got to be stopped, these people. And all the left is like, oh, but Trump was all about not starting any wars. No, he's about finishing wars, and he's going to finish this one quickly. It's been a back burner, percolating war for a long time. It's time to get this sword of Damocles that's hanging over Israel's head and our head diffused and eliminated.
Yes. Yeah. Prince Pahlavi actually put it even better than I could. He said, he called him a rat, and he said, like a rat, he's now hiding underground. And I think that pretty well sums it up. But, we had this come out yesterday. Report Iran state media issues terrifying warning about a surprise tonight that the world will remember for centuries. Well, that didn't happen because no IRGC missiles yesterday made it to Tel Aviv. Now, there is still some pretty major concern regarding this, and I heard some different, several different people floated ideas yesterday on what this may mean. But the two that I saw that kind of made the most sense were, one, they may be loading some of the nuclear material, the uranium that they've been refining, into the missiles that they're shooting, basically turning them into dirty bombs, and contaminating the area wherever they're brought down at. Because even if they don't hit Israel, if they're brought down in other nations beforehand or at the border, you're going to have an area that's now radioactive. It's going to be difficult to clean up, and it could be unusable for centuries. The other possibility that's been floated out there, and I guess this was based on some of the work that Tulsi Gabbard's done. And, again, they were kind of misconstruing a lot of what she said yesterday. I know there's like a back and forth between her and Trump and some other people. But, one of the things she said, there's not evidence that they're doing like mass production of nuclear warheads based on the amount of uranium they were refining. However, that they were over the amount that they would need for a peaceful reactor program. So some people think maybe they have acquired enough enriched uranium for a bomb or a missile or something like that, and that's what they're talking about. But I'm after last night, I think it's more of an empty threat than anything else. That's not going to be something the whole world remembers. But yeah, they may have some major strike planned in the near future.
Yeah, well, the Tulsi Gabbard, President Trump dichotomy of beliefs, or what they were saying, was pretty troubling to me. I never expected her to come out and say something like that and then immediately reverse course when Trump says, I don't care what she says. That was kind of an interesting little thing there. And I'm wondering if she's the next peg to fall. We've, of course, watched Elon fall off. And then, we've got Tucker wavering on the brink, calling the president complicit with Israel. Of course he's complicit. Yeah, it's called supporting the only democracy in the area that's surrounded by enemies. So I'm a little worried about Tulsi Gabbard. I never worried about Gabbard or Kennedy ever before. But I was wondering about the other two, and we've kind of seen some real serious problems with them so far, Elon and Tucker. So I think the Iran thing, if they were to do the dirty bomb thing that you talked about, they would become the world's pariah. And I'm sure they better not bring a dirty bomb over here. But I think if they start spreading dirty bombs throughout the Middle East and throughout Western Asia and on Israel, they're going to drive China away from them. Yeah, and so that would be a great thing to come of their overall stupidity. If they start spreading dirty bombs, there's no chance that they won't get nuked into oblivion. So I think it's going to be it's really unfortunate for the Iranian people, who are lovely people, just like the Chinese people, just like the Russian people. Everywhere you go, and you go into these horrible, tyrannical dictatorships that have been killing and murdering people and coming in the dead of night for them with their secret police, all the people are really nice and they're sweet people in China and in Iran. But their governments are horribly corrupt and evil. So I just you gotta put a lot of faith in Trump on this one. Trump's not going to let us down. Things may get worse before they get better, but in the end, he's right to be going in there, and he's right to be supporting Israel. And all the people like Mark Levin and even Alex Jones and now Tucker Carlson, who seem to be lining up on the side of Iran, are just I don't know what they're smoking, but this is a real deviation from their solid Judeo-Christian conservative roots, and they've got to stay with that. They can't be buckling under the slightest bit of pressure from their big media communist overlords. Yeah.
I do understand, like, people that don't want to get boots on the ground there, that they don't want to get into another entanglement. But right now, we're basically sitting on the sidelines, probably providing intelligence to Israel, but otherwise, we're not getting directly involved. All we're doing is letting them know if they attack our bases, there's going to be severe and final consequences for whatever remains of the Iranian government, the Islamic Iranian government. and then guaranteeing defensive actions, and then we're providing some defensive support for Israel. Now the stage is set for something to happen. We did fly over a bunch of Strata tankers. I think it was 32 of them, along with some other aircraft that are helping with us in support roles, radar and other things for incoming attacks. But I really don't think we're going to get involved directly unless something happens, or maybe dropping these bunker busters that Israel doesn't have the capability to deploy themselves. I didn't know this until the other day. I would have thought they would have had some heavy bombers, but apparently they don't have any in their fleet that are capable of carrying these whatever it is, GBU 43 bunker buster. Sorry guys, I might have the wrong number on the end of that. But whatever they are, the 20,000 pound bunker busters, apparently Israel's Air Force, they have nothing that can carry them. So that's part of why they were trying to get us to do that, to hit Khomeini in his bunker. But that's not necessary either. I saw somebody yesterday say, you know what they ought to do is just go weld all the doors shut in there and then pump it full of water. Take care of the problem that way. I kind of like that idea, actually. He can just seal him in his own tomb, and then they can turn it to a monument afterwards, reminding the Iranian people what evil can do.
Well, how about these people who are sitting there going, no boots on the ground? I would invite them to join us in the 21st century. And let's get back up to, this isn't the War of 1812. There's no Teddy Roosevelt riding horses up San Juan Hill. There's not going to be any of that. The only boots in the ground right now are Mossad and Shin Bet, and they're completely taking over the country and undermining their entire infrastructure. So that's handled. We're not going to have any American boots on not even the CIA or special ops. There's not going to be any of those there. Trump's too smart for that. I think, having interviewed the president and spoken to President Trump, I think what he's going to do is, nobody really knows, and I've been wrong so many times before, but I think what he's going to do is drive those uranium stores in the mountains deeper underground and just explode them, bringing tons of earth down on them with the bunker buster bombs. As I understand it, a friend and I were disagreeing about this, but as I understand it, there are two bombs, one following the other, and the first one hits and breaks the path, and the second one goes in and goes a half mile down and destroys everything. One of my friends was saying that it's one bomb that separates. I don't know the specifics of it, but all I care about is that it works. And I think, obviously, I think it's going to be that activity hitting that Fordo. Is it Fordo? Fordow?
Fordo.
That one that they've defined it as central. That's the central repository for all of most of their nuclear program. They're going to destroy that with bunker busters. That'll happen in a matter of days. I hope. I hope it doesn't drag on and on and on. Although Trump plays the long game, I think I can hardly wait till that happens, and I think that'll be coordinated with a real effort to win the hearts and minds of the Iranian people. Now, we've heard that before from Obama and Biden, but they don't know how to win anybody's hearts and minds. So, and I think Trump really does. So I'm hoping he'll put out, flyers and put out Lech Walesa type anarchists who will destroy the Iranian government. The other thing about the 30 or 32 tankers, I think they call them strato tankers.
Yeah, strato tankers.
I heard this morning that it's because all of our 32 B-2 Spirit bombers are based in Missouri. Now that's a 30-hour round trip, so they have to have these tankers strategically placed to refuel the B-2 Spirit bombers to get over to Iran from Missouri. And they'll probably reposition a few of them to someplace else. They're probably doing that now, I would think, to Ramstein or somewhere in Germany or, in Turkey, although the Turks will probably resist allowing our B-2 Spirit bombers to come there. I don't know. But I think that this is going to be over much sooner than anybody thinks. And I hope and pray that the Iranian people emerge triumphant. One last thing I keep hearing that's rather annoying is these people saying they're typically part of the Clinton crew, kind of the Stephanopoulos, kind of Victoria Nuland idiocracy. They're saying, oh, well, we could end up with somebody worse. Well, I can't imagine anybody worse than these ragheads.
Yeah.
And then I heard Tucker. Who was it? Tucker? It was somebody in the media, well known, who's really against going into Iran, going after Iran. And they said, the same thing's going to happen. Oh, it's Nick Fuentes. He said it's the same thing's going to happen in Libya and Syria. Well, I'm sorry, Assad's gone. I don't know who's in charge of Syria, but it's not somebody as bad as Assad. Gaddafi's gone for decades now, and I don't think we've been hearing anything about a horrible dictator there. So we're actually starting to learn that rather than trying to replace somebody, let's just get nobody in there and let somebody good percolate up and let the people be in charge of that, rather than installing a U.S. puppet or a global puppet in there. So.
Yeah, well, we've already got the prince, who's, again, very popular with the Iranian people still, because, again, 70% of the population is Persian. They're only Islamic because they're being forced to at penalty of death. But we don't even have to win hearts and minds in Iran. The people are already pro-American, pro-Western. They want to go back to having the freedoms they had back up prior to 79. Now, there's some that have been indoctrinated and brainwashed into the Islamic cult, but that's not the majority of the population there. But you kind of alluded to this too. Israel's strikes have gone well beyond just dropping bombs. Mossad's been in there. We saw this drone factory they built within the country. Rumor has it there's a second one they're waiting to deploy, but obviously that's a single-use item. So once they launch whatever they have from this other supposed facility, that resource is gone. But they're in there, it's hacking and a variety of other things. Like they took down the major banks that fund the IRGC and they run all their money through. They're not able to make electronic transactions now. I mean, it's complete chaos and total disarray there. In addition to wiping out most of the IRGC's leadership, some of what's left is afraid to do anything. A number of them are missing in action and probably fled the country. So the situation for them is dire and getting worse, and that's why some people are kind of concerned about some last-minute thing to lash out and cause chaos. Strait of Hormuz disruption fears surge after former Iranian minister threatens transit restrictions. So this is one of the few cards they may be able to play, is get their allies, the Houthis and whoever else, to just attack shipping and, again, just create problems for the world. It's not going to gain them anything. It's certainly not going to save their regime, but it could cause a lot of chaos and cause retaliation from the U.S. and other European countries.
Well, this is why President Trump is so on top of this. He's mentioned the possibility of $300 a barrel oil when the Strait of Hormuz and a lot of the key waterways are closed. I don't think he thinks it's ever going to get that far. I don't think it'll ever get that far. I was very pleased to see Russia back down and say we are not supporting Iran. So that leaves China alone now, pretty much. North Korea, but they're insignificant. Yeah. And then the rest of Pakistan, great, Pakistan. Soon Indonesia will be joining in the fray. Big effing deal. And so we're really turning these evil empires into axis of evil, into pariahs around the world. And so I think Trump's aware of everything. I think I worry that he's not getting great intelligence reports, but I think hopefully Gabbard and John, the head of the CIA, his name escapes me, but hopefully they're doing the right things and getting them the right information and not relying on their underlings too much. But yeah, I think Trump is really he's gonna work this one out, and if he can get the Iranian people free, yeah, and I think the Iranian people sense it's a different day. It's not like back in the times when they were uprising and Obama and Biden were acting like they were going to support them and then stabbed them in the back and let the ones that had come out and said, we need a revolution now, get killed by the mullahs again. So I think they know that Trump really cares. And that's, again, this is one of the indisputable yet little known characteristics of Donald J. Trump. Yeah. This guy cares. It's nobody can argue that he doesn't care about the American people. That's been certified. But he also cares about the Iranian people. He cares about the Chinese people. He cares about people all around the world. And that's why he's such a different president. That's why he's such a different man.
Yeah. Well, and I think most, people that are honest, that are looking at the world with their eyes open, don't have Trump derangement syndrome, can see that. One person that's not very happy about this is Ilhan Omar. The U.S. is now one of the worst countries because of Trump's actions, says Ilhan Omar. And she wasn't just talking about Iran. She says, the response to these no king protests that sent a chilling message, chilling free speech, blah, blah, blah. Well, nobody cares. Maybe if she hates it here, maybe she should just go back to Somalia. Well, we've got to take a quick break here from our sponsors, and I'll be right back with even more.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
Life can be pretty unpredictable, filled with good days and not so good days. And sometimes, the only difference between the two is your level of preparedness. The Jace case lets you be better prepared for whatever comes your way. It contains antibiotics and other prescription medications so that you aren't caught unprepared. With a Jace case, you are able to get your prescription medication before the unpredictable happens, allowing you to turn those not so good days into great ones. Go to jace.com now and get your own Jace case.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the great programs here on Ex American News is by supporting our sponsors. And I want to strongly encourage you to go to jace.com or jacemedical.com, use code insurrection, and pick yourself up a Jace case. This is one of those kind of things that it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. To have the solutions for your problems before the problems even start. It's because your family and medical security, especially right now in uncertain times where we're watching the world teetering on the brink in a number of different ways, and we do have concerns with our drug supply. If China cuts that off? So, again, having this on hand, having it ahead of time is the only way it helps you. And again, this is simple. It's antibiotics. It's other basic medication that we all need from time to time. And if there is an emergency where help isn't on the way, this way you can still protect yourself and your family. And again, Jace has other great options on their website. In addition to the Jace case, they have kits for various things from allergic reactions to sorry, I just blanked out to various infections, to ivermectin, all sorts of things that are better to have on hand now than when you need them. So please, again, go to jace.com or jacemedical.com, use code insurrection, and protect your family and protect your future. Well, we got a few other stories to get to. Let's get to some good news here. Good news that, of course, again, the mainstream media is not going to cover. Blue-collar workers' real wages see biggest boost in 60 years. Now, the few stories I did see covering this from various propaganda news outlets were dismissive, saying, oh, well, construction workers have only seen a 2% gain since January. And that's not even across the board. Like in a lot of places, this hasn't caught up yet. It isn't. The people that have gotten raises and already seen pay increases haven't seen a 2% increase. It's been much greater than that. But when you take the national average for construction-related jobs, then yes, maybe it's only 2%. But the fact of the matter is, it isn't just construction jobs that are seeing pay increases. We're seeing this in manufacturing, in various skilled trade type roles. And again, it signals the economy is finally getting back on track and where it needs to be.
Yeah, this is, of course, one of the meat and potatoes issues for President Trump and why he got elected 3 times, really, but served twice as president. This morning it's the blue collar workers, it's the miners, it's the bikers, it's the electrical workers, it's all the people who go out and work for a living, as opposed to the elitist, unemployed part of America, which is a very small part of America. These people, these chronic complainers, are a very small part of our country because our country's strong and the economy is getting better and bigger.
Yes.
And Trump this morning had a impromptu news conference on the front of the White House lawn with a bunch of hard hats behind them. These guys were putting up the 200-foot flagpoles, one in front, one in back of the White House. And, you could just see that they really respect and admire the guy. They know he's fighting for them. And when it comes to the economy, one of the real things that's coming to a head is this horrible reprobate, Jerome Powell. As Trump continues to point out, he's now calling him too late Powell. While Europe has cut their interest rates 10 times, Powell hasn't cut them once. And he's doing this to harm the president's economic recovery, which is clear and happening and obvious all over. And so you've got this monkey trying to operate the economy behind the strings that's named Jerome Powell. I don't know where we ever got this guy, where they dug him up. He's like a partner of Janet Yellen's, two despicable people. And Trump is, he's trying to get, so while Powell was lowering interest rates for Biden, he's interested in keeping the same or actually raising them if he can for Trump. So it's an obvious scam. He needs to be removed. There's no question the president has the right to remove him. The Fed is not a government agency on its own. He can get rid of the entire Fed if he wants, and I think he should.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, you're exactly right. Jerome Powell is trying to sabotage things right now. Like, we need more liquidity as the economy is improving. We have all this new investment coming in, and people need access to capital to set the stage, to build the properties, to complete the factories, to get everything in place where it needs to be so America can really grow again. But the problem with the Fed is 80% of the board members are large dollar Democrat donors. They hate Trump. They hate his policies. I imagine most of them have TDS. We just aren't aware of it yet. But yeah, I mean, this is literally sabotage. They kept the rates low and lower than they should have to prop up Bidenomics, Bidenflation, and so things could limp along here. And that is, if that hadn't been done, we'd be in an even better place right now. But again, it was robbing from America's future to protect the Bidens. But something has to be done with the Fed, and if they raise rates, that's going to be extremely negative. Leaving them where they are is bad enough. If they raise them, we're gonna potentially have some real problems, and that could throw our economy off track. But I do want to pull this too. So Trump, and this is over on Gateway Pundit. You guys should check this out. It's a great story. Trump economic reality check. What the first 6 months really tell us. And this is pretty interesting. It goes through item by item on all the improvements, and then even does address a few things like job growth. They wish that could be a little stronger. But they also do point out that, we still did have real job growth, and that was with cutting, hundreds of thousands of federal jobs, which again, cost all of us because they live off our tax dollars and they don't produce anything. They're just a drain on our economy. But this is pretty interesting, very thorough. It also shows at the end that the trajectory that we're on, that Trump's put our country on, is going to be amazing. That we're already situated in a way that as a lot of this new investment comes in, new jobs are developed, that we're going to have a stable economic future in America with growth and opportunity again, that we're going to reverse the 4 years of drain under Biden and get America right back on its feet and the rest of the world.
Yeah. So there's a whole mob of people out there who are trying to misrepresent what's going on in America right now. America is going through a vast remodeling project led by President Trump. Our economy is getting better. They can complain about the jobs, but consistently over the last few months, they've beaten expectations. The job numbers have beaten expectations. So these people should just shut up and let the masters deal with it. Most of them are self-appointed economists who know nothing about economics. Yeah. And President Trump is he's unbeatable when it comes to economics. Things like tariffs, he's absolutely correct on. He puts on a clinic about tariffs every time he speaks about them. He's taken his Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and really informed him and made him understand Trumponomics. And so I think that what's going on is you've got a bunch of people who are just railing on and on insanely about how bad Trump is, and I think the country's sick of it. It's really sick of it. And then the last portion of these jobs numbers and the wage growth, et cetera, they're always trying to say, oh, yeah, but you fired all these federal workers. Understand this about the federal workers. These people are in the majority slackers, no-show people in cushy jobs appointed by Obama in what I am pretty certain is a racist plot to fill the government with an unequal amount of minority people. Hiring. Clearly, Obama was hiring black people at a higher rate than the 13% they're represented in our population. I'm not saying black people shouldn't have jobs. I'm just saying you shouldn't hire 53% black people when they comprise 13% of the population. That's not an equitable distribution of job opportunities. It's racism. And so these jobs that he's getting rid of, thank God he's getting rid of them. These people were ripping off the American government and the taxpayer. So it's amazing that the job numbers are coming out when they're getting rid of so many people. And this idea of offering people 7 months, I'm not in favor of the 7 months, but of severance pay. But getting rid of them by paying them 3 months or something, whatever it is a brilliant idea because they're taking it because they know they do nothing at their jobs.
Yes. Oh, yeah, agreed. Yeah, I go back and forth on the severance pay, but I think whatever they have to offer to get them out of there without lawsuits and without more judges stepping in is probably the right move to make, because that way it can be done quietly and we're not tied up in court spending millions or billions of dollars there fighting again for something that is very clearly a power under the executive office. You hit on something really important there. But when Biden was in office, every jobs report that came out, we'd get these glowing numbers and then they were revised down. In Trump, we see the opposite. We have really good numbers for jobs. They're always unexpectedly above where they are, and we don't see these downward revisions, which again just illustrates how hyper-partisan and dishonest the dinosaur media is. Let's go ahead and jump topics again, because we've, of course, got Democrats out there continuing to ruin their reputations and chances for any type of comeback or victory in 2026. New York City mayoral candidate Brad Lander seen aiding illegal immigrants to avoid ICE at courthouse prior to his arrest. Now, I'm sure this guy's going to be out there today crying in front of the cameras and how he was abused and how America's now a fascist country and Trump's Gestapo brought him down. But what's hilarious about this is even the New York Times is saying what this guy did was over the line.
Yeah, it just gets worse and worse for the Democrats, and let's just all relish it and savor it. So you've got, so obviously the New York City mayoral primaries or debates, they're of no interest to anybody except some mentally ill New Yorkers. It's like crazy. I mean, obviously Adams is going to win again, but if he doesn't, Cuomo will win. New York will be destroyed by another Bill de Blasio type guy whose name ends in a vowel. Nothing against Italians. I love Italians. Italians are great people. But unfortunately, we've had the Cuomo clan, which has bridges named after it now. And we have all these Italian Democrat fascists who are taking over our big cities. So de Blasio and Cuomo are, except Cuomo's a little smarter than de Blasio because de Blasio's just a complete imbecile. So nobody really cares about that. What we care about is on the national level, and we're winning there too. I'm from New York. I care about what happens in New York, but I don't have time for it right now. So on the national level, you've got this abomination whose name is, Ilhan Omar, talking about now they've amped it up from let's burn the American flag, let's destroy the memorials, let's change the name of our military bases. They've amped it up from America's a terrible country to America's the worst country in the world. Nobody believes that. Let me just say from the beginning, nobody believes that. And when she does that, she just increases the urge and increases the the countrywide conversation that this woman needs to be deported. Again, no congressional investigations, no ethics committee. We pretty much have the goods that she married her brother in order to get into this country illegally. Therefore, her entire election, or a couple of elections, by 11,000 Somalis in Minnesota, is really a void, null and void, and just remove her from the country immediately and have I guess Tim Walz gets to replace her in Congress until they run an election, which is a terrible, shocking thought. But I don't think he can come up with a more, destructive Somali interloper than Ilhan Omar. So we have to get rid of her. It's time for her to go. And especially when the rational voice of the Democrat Party becomes John Fetterman. And I don't want that guy anywhere near him and his little wife. I don't want them anywhere near the U.S. Senate. But he's coming out and saying things like, look, the Democrat Party has to quit immediately associating anybody that disagrees with us as a Nazi or Hitler. And he's right about that. And he's also talking about, how the Democrats need to get off this fighting the correction of their destructive open border strategy. So Fetterman is really sounding quite good to me. He's not going to be running for president, and I hope he won't be in the Senate much longer. But boy, the voice of reason, John Fetterman, stroke victim, John Fetterman, the voice of reason.
Well, yeah, and I'd much rather deal with a horde of Democrats like John Fetterman than what we have now. This crop that appears to just want to destroy our country, that they are reactionary. Anything Trump does, they've got to go 180 degrees out of phase, that they just can't do anything that's positive for America in any way whatsoever. I'm surprised in New York they haven't named a cemetery after Cuomo, after all the old people he killed while he was running things then. But again, if New York chooses to self-destruct by putting him back in office, who are we to stand in their way? We got another Democrat that ate it yesterday, and I should have grabbed this video. I just realized I forgot to. Watch Democrat reps blocked from entering ICE facility in Chicago. ICE official shuts window in their face. And you can tell from this that they have just had it with the nonsense there, and they're not going to put up with, because again, make no mistake, they have no real concerns about what's going on in these facilities. They'd be ignoring it if the news was different. They want to make a scene. They want to get arrested. And then they want to cry to the cameras that somehow they're being used, and we've devolved into a fascist tyranny.
Yeah, seems to be their main playbook right now, is going to these facilities and making a nuisance of themselves. It's not helping their brand at all. It's not. David Hogg doesn't like it. I don't know why we care what David Hogg thinks, but they do. And Ken Martin, nobody knows, so nobody cares about the leader of the DNC. That's another Gateway Pundit article, by the way, and Gateway Pundit's doing a great job of covering not only national news, but particularly what's going on in Chicago. So these reps are somehow elected, suspiciously elected reps are going in and causing problems. And I even heard, so Trump said at these no King rallies that they shouldn't be allowed to wear masks. Well, that should be a law. I think there's a law in some municipalities, some areas, where you can't enter a bank wearing a mask. And that's a good idea, because who enters banks wearing masks? Bank robbers. So it's the same thing with, there should be a rule that if you're going to be protesting, fine, but you have to be visible, and people have to know who you are. You can't go in there like an Antifa ninja. Yeah. And so that now the Democrats are trying to make it so that we have to unmask our ICE and law enforcement people. No, never going to happen. Trump will never let that happen. And it's just, and then the last point I want to make on this whole amazing rush of our ICE guys and our ICE detention centers is this Alex Padilla, big brain damaged galoot, charging at Kristi Noem. I mean, you don't ever hear from these people. When was the last time we heard from Alex Padilla about an important issue that the Democrats are pushing forward, much less the Republicans? You never heard him say anything bad about Trump, because you never hear from him. Yeah. And so he was obviously trying to get his brand out there. I don't know what that is. The Alex Padilla douchebag brand. I'm not sure what it is, but he's trying to promote himself and get himself in the news again. So The Democrats know no end to their evil. They know no end to their stupidity. They know no end to their mental illness. And just grab some popcorn and enjoy the show, because it's going to carry on, and I'm glad it will. I want it to carry on so that the stupidity gets them in the end.
Well, I'm trying to look this up real quick. So I wonder if Alex Padilla is up for election right now in the.
I think he is, but I'm not sure.
Well,
I think he's coming up in 2026. That's why all these people are surfacing. They're all coming out of their bunkers, and they're out from under their wet rocks.
Oh yeah, well, I'm sure that's exactly what it is. And sorry, I'm having issues right now with my phone loading this stuff up. I keep getting some messages for Google AI, which I don't. Whatever. All right, guys, we got to take a quick break here from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with even more.
Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs here on X America News is by supporting our sponsors. You can do that by going to lutfstudio.com and picking yourself up an original, one-of-a-kind, handmade piece of art from Annie Cyrus. She's actually going to be joining us too Friday, but you guys should also check out her other programs here on the network. Live Up to Freedom. She's been doing great reporting on what's going on in Iran, on breaking a lot of stories before we're seeing them here, because she speaks 17 languages, can read everything across the Middle East, and can get all the headlines and information before it gets translated and regurgitated by the mainstream media here. But yeah, she does a lot of great work here to support us, and this is a good way to support her by going to lutfstudios.com and get yourself a future family heirloom. Well, let's go ahead and get our last few stories here rapid fire. Chicago suspends online portal allowing illegal immigrants to get IDs after ICE seeks data. So again, hilarious. The left decided, if you're going to go round up illegal aliens, we're going to make it harder for you. We're going to go issue them new IDs and issue them IDs in other names to make them harder to track. Well, ICE is now after that database, and they're going to have to turn it over. They know they're going to have to turn it over, so they finally shut down the program. But again, whoever put this together should be going to jail for subverting American democracy and protecting these criminals.
Yeah, so part of the same playbook we just discussed. And so the relevance of this, again, is the real key focus point is the stupidity of Democrats. And obviously most of the country is turned against the idea that we let everybody in, and we let them in. We're very heartfelt, and we've got tears greeting them at the border and sending them, flying them on planes at night all over our country. That obviously was wrong, illegal, unconstitutional, and just plain evil. They were trying to destroy our country. And as President Trump said this morning, they let in 11,888 murderers. That's the number of murderers they let in alone. We're not even talking rapists or gang members or criminals, although some of those were gang members. I've got to say that, in the run up to Trump's re-election here, it sounded as if Biden and all of his cretins in the White House who were pulling the marionette strings were kind of reversing course on the border very quickly. Oh yeah, no, we're trying to close up the border. Well, obviously that was a scam and that was a lie. But they were it showed the point that they thought that most of the American people were in favor of, and it certifiably is true that 80%, I think more perhaps, I believe that's understated, 80%, it's not just an 80-20 issue, it's a higher issue. And
Yes.
that most of the American people want the borders closed and they want our streets cleaned up. They don't want just criminals pulled off the street. They want everybody pulled off the street who's here illegally. And so they kind of went along with that issue. And I think people felt they were being disingenuous, which of course they were. Of course, the main characteristic of Democrats is disingenuous liars. So, and then all of a sudden after Trump won, now they've gone full blown all the way back to, we've got to save our important immigrants to do all kinds of jobs Americans won't do, which is a lie. They're really good people, which is a lie. I mean, sweeping generalization, but I'm sorry. They're emptying their jails and their insane asylums and sending them over here. It's not good people. They're not working hard and paying taxes, which is always another way they try to pull on our heartstrings. No, our heartstrings are unavailable to Democrats now, and to communists and to fascists and to everybody that's anti-American. We got to start cleaning house in this country. And it's not just illegal aliens and criminals and gang members. It's members of Congress. It's
bingo.
It's George Soros. Why hasn't he been deported? Let's deport him immediately. Let's make that, you would solve a lot of the problems in this country by deporting Soros and going after both his onshore and offshore bank accounts and locking up his money. He'd be turned instantaneously into a sick, evil old man instead of this big, powerful guy who's funding all these anti-American protests. So, I mean, it's just keep it up, Democrats. Keep up lying and keep up supporting, filling our countries with horrible people who shouldn't be here and who are destroying our economy.
Well, you're exactly right. And I think the really important thing there is locking up Soros's money, prevent his son Alex from getting a hold of it either. That they need to go after them. They were funding these riots. That's funding destruction of America. And some of the money came over from communist China, and they went along with it. But yeah, all these billionaires that have been funding the destruction of our country, we need to haul them in for investigations and treat it like the left does. These people should be public enemy number one. That we should go through everything they've got. And for once, find the crime. And again, I don't think that's going to be too difficult, given what we already know about a lot of these people. But literally funding these riots and funding the destruction, I'm sure there's numerous things we can come up to charge them with there. But it's time to cut the legs out of the left out from underneath them, if I could talk. Because again, they continue to support illegal aliens over Americans and an agenda that's not in alignment with where most U.S. citizens are. I'm going to pull up two more stories here real quick. New York AG Tish James launches misconduct probe into upstate sheriff's office for working with ICE. I've had these out of order slightly. 53% of Hispanic voters back Trump's mass deportation plan. And this is the story I was looking for. Just in, Obama judge holds Florida AG in contempt for cooperating with Trump administration enforcing states' anti-illegal immigration laws. The American people the Democrats are 180 degrees out of phase with the majority of Americans right now. And for once again, us to see these judges and attorney generals and other people, overstep and try to prevent what the American people voted for from taking place, whether that's sending a message in New York to a sheriff that's actually cooperating with ICE, or this rogue judge in Florida saying they don't have the right to protect themselves and enforce their state's own border policy. It's not that they are working with the federal government. They're not usurping the Fed's power. They're doing what the people and the state should, and that is defending their own borders.
Yeah, doesn't it sometimes make you feel like your head's going to explode, Michael? It just keeps coming. And we don't seem to be able to focus on any one thing at one time, because then there's another horrible atrocity that the Democrats are committing coming down the pike right at us. It just never ends. So obviously, their continued work on defeating ICE, on making sure illegal aliens who are criminals stay in our country, it's part of the enduring history that Democrats have of being against law and order, pro-criminal, soft on crime. They've always been this way, and I don't know why it continues to surprise us. And just like they've always been in bed with communists and fascists. So, I mean, they've always been in bed with Putin. They've always been in bed with Xi. They've always been in bed with Mao. They've always been in bed with Stalin and Khrushchev and Brezhnev.
Yeah.
I mean, they've always been in bed with these people. And we shouldn't be surprised anymore. But what we do need to do is make hay out of their constant associations that are bad for America. It's treason. And I don't know why no Democrat, communist, fascist, lunatic has been prosecuted for treason since 1953. We need to get back to the electrocuting people who are guilty of espionage or treason in this country. George Washington would have had them shot at dawn, as he did many traitors. So I mean, we need to get back to the things that founded this country, which is, if you don't like it, leave it. And if you don't like it, you can't stay here and speak ill of it, because too many people died for that flag, and there's too much blood on that flag, and it was spent on our freedoms. To have people like Ilhan Omar come over here from the dusty roads filled with burqa-clad women of Mogadishu. We've just got to clamp down on some of these people. It's not free speech. And somehow along the way, my last point on this is American patriotism. Somehow along the way, we let the Democrats, I don't know if it was a Supreme Court decision. It might have been a ridiculously stacked Supreme Court decision that said it's okay, it's free speech to burn the flag. It is not free speech to burn the American flag. It should be a crime. And President Trump has said you should do 5 years for it. And I agree with him, perhaps even longer. You burn our flag. Too many people have died for that flag. And if you do that, you're not part of our country anymore. So somehow we've let the Democrats convince us that, no, it's okay to burn the flag. It's free speech. No, it's not.
Well,
It's not free speech.
They think burning the flag is free speech, but they want to prosecute people for burning a Quran or driving. They have prosecuted people for driving over this little Rainbow Road LGBTQ Pride Month nonsense. They want to protect their sacred cow, but they don't care. They don't care about America. They don't love America. The idea that it's free speech, okay, maybe. I don't really buy that. But even if it is, there's consequences for some of the things you do. And if that means disrespecting your nation, especially if they're immigrants here, visas can be revoked. If you're out at one of these rallies burning the American flag, then maybe you should go back to whatever hellhole you came from. We don't need you. But at the end of the day, you're exactly right. They side against America and Americans' values over and over again. People are waking up to that. But really what we need some changes at the DOJ. There's so many opportunities to prosecute them for these kind of crimes, but instead we look the other way, or at least conduct real investigations. And I'm not just talking about the going out and protesting. My camera just. Sorry, guys, my camera overheated. Give me a second, I'll get that fixed. But prosecuting the left for the other things that they've done. And, think about it. Like, we've had, who has it had the Chinese spy as their driver for forever? Or all these other connections that various Democrats have had with other foreign nationals illegally in their orbit. And there's never anything done about it. There's no real investigation. Said the DOJ just looks the other way. We know a lot of these people have ties to communists, to anti-American globalists around the world. We know laws have been violated, but instead our DOJ treats them with kid gloves. Nothing happens, nothing gets done, and it's time to change that. You start actually prosecuting these people for the things they're doing, for the money they're taking, and for the harm they're causing to the U.S. A lot of it will stop, or it's going to go underground, and if that's the case, then hey, it's a conspiracy, so there's even more people to charge.
Well, I agree with what you said I agree with everything you said, but what you said about the DOJ was particularly poignant. Since Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have made such nothing burgers out of small-time items like the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt of our president and the Trump golf course attempt, and then all the Epstein files, since they've produced gigantic bitter nothing burgers from those things. It's time for them to pivot and start focusing on some things that are going to really rock the American world into thinking that they're in action. I'm getting tired. My patience is running out. Over the last couple of months, we've been talking about, let's maybe take some time. They got a lot to do. They could change American society for the better with with doing two things: deporting and seizing the cash of George Soros, and deporting and removing Ilhan Omar. That would be a great start. Let's start there, and then we'll get to Epstein and the JFK files and everything else. But I haven't seen a lot of action out of those people, except for the, pardon me, deer in the headlights interviews where they're claiming there's nothing. Epstein committed suicide, and there was one shooter, that sick little boy at Butler. So they're not sharing any information. When they catch this guy in Minnesota, they're still withholding his manifesto. Why is the FBI not releasing that? So it's the same old with these people. And I don't know if Trump's paying attention. He's obviously involved with nuclear war potentials over in the Middle East and elsewhere that the Democrats started. But he's got to really, at some point, I hope he can take, surface for air, take a deep breath, and get on Pam Bondi, because we may have the wrong person in there.
Yeah, it is starting to look that way. And we talked about this numerous times on here that, and actually some contacts I have told me that, we'll finally see some arrests or whatever sometime between June and July. Well, June is over halfway gone. I would have expected to see at least some people starting to get drug out in handcuffs. That maybe the major arrests, maybe they're not ready for that till July. But at this point, we should have at least seen something. Instead, again, a big fat goose egg. Zero. I want to see movement on. We don't have to bring in everybody on the Epstein list at once. We can bring them in a few hundred at a time. We know he had tens of thousands of victims. At least that's what they told us before. So it's time to start dragging in some of these other perpetrators there. Same with Ilhan Omar. Maybe we need to do a real investigation. She committed immigration fraud and married her brother. That needs to be looked into. And if she did, out of here. I don't care what you did. The law applies to everybody. It's what we heard over and over again while Trump was in office. No one's above the law. Well, again, they still think they are. They think any restraining of them is harassment, is just, we slipped into a fascist dictatorship. Every time one of these people gets nailed for doing something they shouldn't have, they go and literally cry about it. But I don't care how much they cry or how many crocodile tears we see. I want to see actual justice. I want to see these people handcuffed, charged, thrown in jail, and they need to actually pay for their crimes. I mean, the LaMonica MacGyver is a decent start, but there's a lot of people on this Epstein list that I have a feeling are still sitting in Congress right now. And hey, that'll get rid of a lot of your roadblocks by just doing your job, doing what you promised to do, enforcing the law, and making some arrests.
I like the way you slipped into liberal, anti-American character there with your voice. It reminded me of Barney Frank.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about him. He shoved all. Was it him that shoved all the documents on the National Archives in his pocket to try to save?
That was Sandy Berger.
Oh yeah, Sandy Burglar. Yeah,
the Clinton East. I think he was National Security Advisor or something. Yeah,
that's right.
He got prosecuted for that, amazingly, but he got a slap on the wrist. So obviously, we're back to the same two-tiered system of justice.
Yeah, that's right. Barney Frank was the dancing queen. Yeah.
Yeah, Barney Frank was the guy who started the whole thing that brought us Obama, which was the Dodd-Frank Act that offered a bunch of people who couldn't pay, mostly minorities. I'm in favor of minorities being able to get houses, but not if they don't have to adhere to the same requirements, such as 20% down on a house and all the other regulations that all Americans come under when we get a mortgage. So they started the whole bank run, the collateralized mortgage obligations that took, Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns down, and that started the whole thing that, led to Obama being elected. As he said, I'm going to fix it all. Hope and change. There was no hope and change. There never will be with a Democrat.
No, you're just going to be left with the change in your pocket, and that's about it. All right, guys. Bill, thank you again for joining us today. Any last words of wisdom you want to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I got one word, and it's regarding Trump. Winning. We are still winning. Don't forget. I mean, there's a lot of problems in the world today, but Trump has a really good eye for what's going on, and he really gets his strategy straight first. So don't be surprised if this Iran thing does not bubble over into a global thermonuclear war, as all the people are trying to say. I grew up getting under desks in classrooms during drills for nuclear. I mean, it wouldn't have saved us. So
Yeah.
somehow we've always managed to make it through. And I think under Trump, as long as Trump's in there, I think we're safe from nuclear war. I've been wrong so many times, but that's what I believe.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think we're going to see nuclear war here anytime soon, or maybe across some places in the Middle East, but definitely not here. All right, guys, thank you again for joining us today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't.